there is a lot to go through, but most of them are small, easy to understand sections, and that's why we designed it in such a way that that you can take each video and say, right, I need to know about plugins, or I need to know about, you know, the post versus pages and that kind of thing. So don't be overawed by the huge list that we've got, including sort of going through the general settings. There are certain things that you'll go in and do once. There are certain areas that you might not go in at all. For example, user profiles. You can create user profiles and give people a reduced level of access to your websites. You might never do that. You might just sort of, you know, create your sort of one-person empire and not give access to, say, blog writers, or, you know, people to do some work on the site where they can't sort of, you know, have the keys to the castle. So there are certain elements that you might not go into at all, but certainly things, you know, around sort of plugins, widgets, contact forms, pop-ups. You know, that section is really where it starts to turn it from that intangible idea to a tangible website. What you should be able to do by the end of the first day is to take one of those ideas off your idea board, go buy a domain name, and set up a website in a matter of hours to maximum 3 hours. Obviously, going forward, you'll have more content, you'll have more toys and all of that, but it turns it into that tangible asset. It turns that idea into reality. And then it's you working out your sort of, you know, what the next 3 months look like for that site. What do I need to do? And that's all we do. You know, I think one of Ben's constant phrases, you know, if you drive into Edinburgh, the lights don't need to shine all the way to Edinburgh, they just need to shine sort of 100 metres in front of the car, and that's all you really need to do when you're thinking about, you know, your next steps for your business. So, and then we just, you know, one of the security elements that we sort of endorse time and time again and reiterate is keeping things up to date, keeping things. The vast majority of updates, whether they're plugins or themes, are to do with security patches, and it's responding to, you know, what hackers are trying to do. So don't ignore, you know, when something needs updating. We will talk first of all about why WordPress. As I say, you know, I can hand code, I can write all of these languages, I can sit there if I wanted to in Notepad and create a site still, you know, but why would I? And there are many reasons for using WordPress. Obviously, it's web based, so I can actually do updates on my phone and all of that good stuff. But for me, because I'm a huge fan of outsourcing, there are, you know, a far larger pool of really brilliant developers to choose from if you've got a WordPress site versus, you know, something like Magento or Drupal, which are sort of slightly more technical to implement. So, you know, first things first, I've got a lot more people to ask and to work out whether, you know, how good they are and all of that good stuff if I've got a WordPress website. But it's just dead easy for most people to be able to use, to administer, and so on and so forth. And I guess the biggest part of that for me is plugins. And plugins are just a piece of functionality, right? Which we'll get to this afternoon. But plugins are the things that make your site flexible, scalable, and so on and so forth. And all you do is, you know, you activate a plugin, and suddenly you've got a new toy, a new area, and something new to offer and do within your site. And if you're on any of the other sort of web building platforms, you're tied into what they offer. Generally, there's a cost associated to it. Before you know it, you're kind of boxed in, and your site looks the same as the next person that's on Wix or Weebly and so on and so forth. Whereas WordPress, you know, think outside of the WordPress box, if you like. There's only 2 languages, programming languages, that are used on a WordPress website. HTML, which every website in the world is built on, it's a hypertext markup language. So every website in the world is built on that, and that just displays text, images, and so on and so forth. And then you've got the functionality, you know, filling a form out, or having an events booking function, or link into your social media, whatever it might be, there's generally a plugin for it. And that is written in a language called PHP. So that is it. It's either HTML or PHP. And there are tons and tons and tons of really good developers out there that know both inside out. So I can buy a plugin, for example, like a membership plugin, that I like, and I really like, so 90% of it, but there's another 10% I'd really like it to do. I can ask a developer who writes in PHP to go and do that 10% for me. Because I've got most of it there, they can still modify it. A plugin isn't set in stone. Yes, you move away from the ability to update it if you modify anything. But the development team would know that, and they'd know how to maintain the code behind it. So it's the same with themes. You can go and buy a theme, absolutely, or you can get some really good free themes, as we're going to build our site on a free theme over the next 2 days. But you don't have to do that. For one of the sites, I literally went around the web and screenshot bits of my favourite websites. I like that slider, and I like this menu system, and I like that. And I literally cropped it all together crudely into a PowerPoint slide, sent it to my developers, who turned it into a theme. So you're not fixed because you've got that larger pool, because it's WordPress. Okay, the more obscure you go down that platform route, the fewer people you've got to choose from, and then it's harder in places like Upwork to work out how successful they have been in terms of their work. How good they are at their job. They might have a 5-star review, but they've only done one job. If they're on some of these fewer platforms. You can pretty much read the slide for the rest of it. It is a content management system, and all that means is, as I say, every website in the world is built in HTML, but in front of that is this nice, easy to use layer. So you click and add a page, in the background it's creating that page title, creating all the content, and you're just sitting there making things bold and so on and so forth without caring about code. And it's the beauty of WordPress. My litmus test, and now it's been recorded, she'll hate me for this, is my wife. She's a complete technophobe. And when I designed the course, I had her go through and teach herself WordPress, and she can build websites now. And she won't let me outsource to her, or insource as I call it. But that was my litmus test. Just knowing that if she could get her head around WordPress and not care about the code and not be put off by the fact that that's what it was doing in the background, and just to have a play. You can't break it, you can just play with it, right? That's really kind of what WordPress is all about. It's free. WordPress is open source software, which means it's free. It's maintained by a group voluntarily. But you should never be charged for WordPress. So WordPress as a program, as a platform, is completely free. But it started its life as a blogging software, okay? And very quickly, because of its nice front end and easy to use and so on and so forth, fascia, developers realized there was an opportunity there to create something. We'll pause there for the phone ringing. To create something that would enhance that particular blog, and that's how it evolved. So why do we use it? Well, I kind of mentioned most of the reasons anyway. My favourite reason for using it is that literally within sort of an hour and a half, you can have a fully functional website up and running, and that is your idea turned into a tangible working asset. And then you can't fail but to act on it. If you're just staring at something you've written up on an ideas board, it will stay there. But if you've got a website, you're more likely to, go and find a partner to do a business with you, or start your social media platforms and drive your traffic to your site, and so on and so forth. But you don't need anything, you don't need technical knowledge at all, and that's really what we're trying to sort of drive home over the next 2 days. None of it's technical, we don't look at code, it really is about how you want your business to grow. And grab a bit of paper and say, right, okay, there's my website, but what do I want it to do? I'm going to need a contact form. Do I need to sell from the site? Okay, well, I need a plugin that I can sell from and sell from. Just put it on a bit of a mind map, on a bit of paper, and then turn each one of those pieces into a plugin on your website, Okay, so WordPress.org versus WordPress.com. So WordPress.com is where it started. So you can create a blog for free, and it might be Jason's Australian Travels.wordpress.com. That's how it started. So you can create your blog, you could go on your travel, you can grab your phone or your tablet or whatever, and just to add, sort of your notes of the day, a bit of a picture. And remember, this preceded social media, right? So this was before people started to sort of throw their pictures up on Instagram or post what they were doing on Facebook. It was for a web log, which is what the word blog comes from. It's great for people that just want their own sort of website, mini website, so they can put that information up. But you can't do much with it. You haven't got access to sort of plugins and so on and so forth. You can't commercialize it, and so you can't really scale it. But that's where it came from. So WordPress.org, that basically is the voluntary group that maintain the code, make sure it's secure, and all of that good stuff. And then they package that up as a zip file that you can then reuse time and time again for free. So that's kind of the difference between the two. So when you go to look for plugins, for example, you go to wordpress.org/plugins, or you're probably better off Googling, best membership plugin 2018 or whatever. Try and find a blog that sits around that. And actually, there's business idea number one. So what people do quite often is that they will do a bit of research and they'll go on to something like Theme Forest, where you can buy themes, or Envato Market, and you can create an affiliate code. You can get your own affiliate account with these theme selling companies. So then they'll write a blog and say, right, these are the best event booking plugins of 2018. These are the best membership plugins of 2018. These are best gallery portfolio themes, or whatever it might be. So they'll just do a blog, and they'll see, number one, here's a picture of it, a bit about the pros and cons and so on, but the link will be an affiliate link. And that's all people will do. They'll just sit there and they'll write these things. So they'll just sit there all day on Envato Market, check out what they consider to have the best ratings or whatever it might be, and then they'll make sure that it has sort of 2018 on it. So that's what people will Google. So if nothing else, you could sit there and just plagiarize, and then there's an easy affiliate scheme there for you. This is what you need if you want to create a website. Okay, so you need a domain name, and it could be one of those domain names that you thought of at 4 o'clock in the morning, hoping to register it before someone else reads your mind. We've all done that, but you need to register a domain. Now, my advice normally is if you buy a domain from someone, whether it's UK2net or 123reg or any of those, just buy all of your domain names from the same people. It's around about the same cost. But it makes it far easier than to not think, okay, where did I buy that domain from? Because I now want to make that live. You haven't got them scattered everywhere. You haven't got to try and log into everywhere you might have ever bought a domain name from. So just stick to one. Like I say, they're all the same. You will need a hosting account from a hosting provider such as Smart Hosting or HostGator. The reason we kind of pick those two out is because you can create unlimited websites for no more than your initial fee. So, with Smart Hosting and HostGator, they've both got plans that allow you to create as many websites as you like, and that is the power of taking those ideas off of your idea board, turning it into a tangible business, almost instantly. In terms of, you can get free themes. They're quite easy to use now, and as I sort of mentioned before, you're not restricted. If you buy a free theme and it almost looks brilliant to what you want it to do, you can get a developer to unlock the last bit and add one or two pieces to that thing to make it, more fitting to your vision. But there are, paid themes. I will sort of mention a couple of my favourites shortly. Then you're going to want your graphics, your logos. Don't scrimp on your logo. Not if you're going to launch it as a proper business. You can go to free logo services, for example, get halfway through creating a free logo, screenshot it and turn it into a graphic, right? But what you should really do is think about you know, the industry that you're going into, make it readable, make it obvious as to what your business does as well, right? That's kind of following through, making sure the domain name says what you do. How many times do you drive past like vans or with sign, you know, sort of they're all sort of sign written on the sides, and you have no idea what they do. Like it might say, you know, enterprise solutions, you know, UK-wide solutions for all businesses. You still have no idea what they do. Right, so what's the point in that? You might as well just have a blank van. And it would be the same for your website. If you don't instantly tell people what you do, they'll go away from your site. We talk about bounce rate tomorrow in terms of search engine optimization, but you know, you have to be fairly obvious and fairly in your face. But free themes can do that as well as paid themes. The reason I look at paid themes now, whereas in the past I would try and do everything as cheaply as possible, is because some of the page builders that come with it, the ways that you can organise the information on your page, can save you hours and hours and hours. But in terms of logos, you know, you've got to get your logo right. It's got to be fairly obvious or eye-catching. And imagine what media you might have that logo on as well. It's unlikely now that you're going to have letter-headed paper, right? That's pretty much gone out the window. But people still go to network meetings and exchange business cards, so make sure it's not, you know, too long a name that it's so tiny on your business cards that makes it pointless. And it'll be the same for your website, but you're also going to, it won't just be on your website, it'll be on your social media platforms, it'll be in your email signatures and so on and so forth. So maybe use Fiverr to get some ideas, and then use a graphic designer on Upwork to turn that into something absolutely, you know, a little bit more professional, because those guys on Fiverr will have some kind of software where they can just put a name in, give you some random, you know, almost stock image, little sort of logo elements, and give you that back. But they're giving the same thing back to anybody else that books their gig on Fiverr, right? So just maybe use that to get a few ideas. So, you know, find people on Fiverr that give you 2 design options or whatever, and then get 4 of them to do that. So you get 8 logos for $20, £16 or whatever that might be. Then take it from there. You might absolutely love one of them, and that's fine. But don't scrimp on it, because it will be your signature basically going forward. You will need a mail provider. You will need a mail provider for many, many reasons, but we have in May a legislation change in the European Union. I don't know how many of you know about it or have even heard of it. It's GDPR. You heard of GDPR? So effectively, you know, in terms of collecting information, which is absolutely vital to growing your business, because you need a client base to email your offers or your upsells or your sales funnel to. That's what it's all about. It's all about having that lead magnet to attract people in, and then you're creating a database. Now, what you really need that to do when they, you know, maybe fill in a pop-up or a contact form on your website that gives them something for free. You need that to automatically transfer into your mail provider, because from your mail provider you can start to send emails legitimately. They'll have things, they will be GDPR compliant, so they'll have things like, you know, a double opt-in, you know, check your inbox and confirm your email, authenticate your email, and all. We've all done it, right? And if it's something we really want, we're fine with it. But importantly, if you start sending, you know, 20, 30 emails out of your own Outlook account or whatever a day, you'll soon be blacklisted by Outlook itself, so you won't be able to send any emails to anybody. We're using a mail service provider who conform and comply to the rules. They won't be blacklisted, right? So they have those gatekeeping processes in place to make sure that, you know, you can't legislate whether it might go into someone's spam folder, because that can happen from your own bank, right? But what it will do is make sure that people are very clear that they can click on subscribe, unsubscribe, and all of that good stuff. So they're more likely to trust the email that's coming from you. So there are dead simple ways of doing that. So you could create, for example, a MailChimp account. That's free. You can send up to 2,000 emails a month for free. There are some automation tools in there as well, so you can create your own workflow. Now, what that is something like, you know, someone subscribes and gets your lead magnet, you know, free ebook or whatever it might be. So you send them that autoresponder that says, thank you very much, here's a link to your free ebook. But then you can automate that so that, you know, join date plus 3 days, send them an offer. You know, have you seen such and such? And they might click to buy. Then, you know, join date plus 5 days might be just a bit of information, because you don't just go sell, sell, sell. But you can put that workflow together and then just leave it. It's fine. You can just, then all you'll do is you might have a flash sale and you might send ad hoc emails. But all of that, up to 2,000 emails a month, is free. So it makes no sense not to make sure that you're this side of compliance from day one. And it'd be the same for putting the security certificate on our website as well. And after that, it really does depend on the type of business that you are running. So if you're in a seminar business, you might not sell direct from that site. If you've got a sales funnel, you might have a ClickFunnels account, in which case your site is one thing, but ClickFunnels, it's a completely different site. But then it follows, you know, the funnel through and pays any affiliates and so on and so forth. So the model is pretty much fixed down to the MailChimp, to the mail provider, and then, you know, what are you looking to gain out of this particular website? You know, is it that actually you want to grow more of a social audience, in which case you'll focus a lot of your efforts onto your social media platform, building up your audience, and use your website maybe just to have that membership area, that secret VIP place where people can come and get some nuggets and pay you a monthly fee, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, but the basics are there. So domain name, hosting, a theme, you know, install WordPress, link it to your mail provider, and you're good to go. So buying a domain. Like I say, it doesn't matter where you buy your domain name from, just so long as you just stick to one place. It makes it easy for you going forward, particularly if you are, like me, fairly restless of mind and you continue to buy domain names on an almost daily basis. I do mine in 123 Reg, as I'll show you in a moment. Some of them provide hosting, but I keep mine separate. So I don't buy my domains with 123 Reg and then host with 123 Reg, because I want that flexibility of moving it around and so on. But there are some things to bear in mind. So when you're looking at hosting, make sure, you know, do a bit of research. If you're going outside of the sort of two main recommendations that we have this year, then just make sure they've got good reviews, good uptime, or on Trustpilot and all of that. Okay. It really comes down to me that they have that ability to add what we call an SSL certificate, secure socket layer. That's your security, your HTTPS. Because you are punished by the browsers for not having it, you're punished by Google in your rankings for not having it. And if it's a chargeable activity, then it can quite quickly mount up. Can you imagine how much I would pay with 138 websites on HostGator, right? It just doesn't bear worth thinking. Well, yeah, each one would need to make, you know, a couple of 100,000 a year for me to consider that. But there's a bit of a warning at the bottom, and I would take note of that. Don't click on transfer domain. That's not the same as changing your name servers, okay? And what would happen, you'll transfer it and you'll think, yeah, I want to transfer it to my hosting, and then it will sit in the ether for days on end, and I'll end up with support calls coming out of the floor, trying to find out where your domain name is. I will go through the process and show you the difference, but that's all you need to do is put in your name servers and click update, and it will point then to your folder which has all your web files. I will explain exactly how it works as well, without choking to death. So we have some slides that take you through you know, how this works. So, you know, this is an example from going from 123 Reg to HostGator. I'll show you 123 Reg to smart hosting. So either way, you've either got it on the slides or on a video as to how to sort of manage your domain. But it doesn't matter if you've got it with GoDaddy or UK2Net, there will be an area where you can update or change your name servers, and that's all you're looking for. And don't be clouded by the fact that seems to be a lot of options. There's only one thing you need to do when you get in there. So there are some slides that take you through that process. It really is a step guide, dead simple. And then we talk about hosting. But this is just your checklist, if you like, if you're looking to choose someone that, other than smart hosting. Or you might just want to sense check, if you're with a different provider already, just how good they are, how good they match up in the marketplace today. So we are at the demonstration point. Again, I've got slides that cover the actual steps that we're going to go through. These you'll have access to anyway in the same area that you'll have access to the videos, right? So you don't have to worry about getting a copy of the slides; they'll just be in there. But if I just jump out a second, so here's 123 Reg, and I've got both smart hosting opened up, and I've got HostGator, so I should probably log into HostGator actually. Just for those that are on HostGator want to know the subtle differences. Right, so you buy your domain name quite simply just by getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and saying, this is what I need. Not going to go and buy my drone company, as I've got enough on my plate. But quite simply, you go through and buy a domain name, okay, or several. Has anyone not bought a domain name before? Good, okay. I don't need to milk that piece then. So what you end up with is a login to your control panel. As I say, whether it's UK2 Reg or whatever it might be, you will have several domains, okay. So there's one or two here. I am going to, over the next 2 days, build WordPress course. Now, interestingly, when I was sort of designing the course, I wanted something that was keyword rich, okay? And how I managed to get hold of WordPresscourse.co.uk, I have no idea. More luck than judgment. Now, I would have been happy, just as happy, if I had to put a hyphen. So it might have been WordPress course, WordPress-course or WordPress-courses.co.uk. I would have been happy for two reasons. One, there's an actual break in the domain name, so Google knows what the difference between the two words are, right? Because some of them can get blurred. Therapist, for example, you wouldn't want a hyphen, or Pen Island is one of Simon's favourites. So you don't have to write that down and get the joke in a half an hour, that's fine. But the point is that Google then knows where the natural break is. And let's be honest, you're not going to create a radio advert, so you don't have to go, come to WordPress-course.co.uk / this, that and the other. It's going to be a link that people click on, whether it's on your social media platform, whether it's on your email broadcast, whether it's on just an SEO and they're coming up in search results and so on and so forth. So I do like hyphens. I'm quite happy with hyphens. The second main reason, other than the natural word break and that it makes it for easy people to read, is that if I type in WordPress course or WordPress course Kent, I can then immediately have a look at who the competitors are, and my favourite game is right. Okay, I'll take them on. How long would it take me to get above them in Google? And it's brilliant because you've got the tools at your disposal in your library, and having gone through the diploma course as well, you've got more knowledge than they have in ranking in Google. So it should be quite easy to have a look at who's number 10 on page 1 and go, right, I'm going to overtake you. Then you go after number 9, then you go after number 8, and so on and so forth. It becomes a game of which you accidentally make money. But the point is that it doesn't matter if someone's already bought that domain. And actually what you will find, especially with the 4 in the morning ideas, a lot of people would have bought them and parked them. And either they won't do anything with them, in which case you might find them on who.is and approach them and see if they'll sell it. Or they might just have a really poor website that makes no sense to much people, in which case it's just easy, low-hanging fruit really, easy target to replace on Google. By the time you've packed that out with a few social media platforms that you've optimized as well, it's quite easy to sort of dislodge some of those competitors. You have a look at some of the markets I've gone into, so the childcare market or the wedding market, the internet training market. These are very, very busy markets with some long-established competitors who spend a lot of money in the childcare area alone. There's sort of the number one in the country. Spend £1 million a month on marketing. £1 million a month. I'm quite happy being number 2. I don't go anywhere near £1 million a month, but I'm better than number 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? So it doesn't matter if it's a busy market. If you've got the confidence, the tenacity, and importantly, you really want to do that business, it's quite easy actually just to follow some of the simple pieces of advice that we offer in the Internet Business School. It's always the latest stuff as well. How to trump people on Google, but it is fun. It's fun, finding out actually. Oh look, I'm now number 9. I'm now number 8. So don't be worried. Whether you have to buy a hyphenated version of that domain name because someone's already got it. Don't be worried if the people that have got the non-hyphenated version are number 1 and look like a huge company. Because one of the other things you can do with your hosting is create as many email addresses as you like for nothing. So you can create an instant empire with a one-person business, right? So I always register or always create info@mycompany.com, the team @support@, and then Jason if I want to have that sort of one-to-one conversation with people. So instantly I've got different areas of the website that go to different inboxes. It makes the company look instantly large. There's another trick I'll tell you later in terms of content, but it makes the company appear like an empire. But for me, I will outsource the recipients of support for example. So people send in support tickets. It doesn't go to me, it goes to my dev team, and if they need to escalate something to me, they will. But essentially, 99 times out of 10, they'll be able to answer the question. So you can create that as a huge empire. The other thing you can do is you can start to look at virtual assistants to help you out. It's a cheaper alternative to hiring someone, and all of the red tape and bureaucracy that comes with that. Baby steps. So make sure you get your domain name. Make sure you're happy with it, and that's exactly what I did with the WordPress course. So we're going to build that, and there will be a similar button in wherever you bought your domain name to click on manage, as it is for me. And all you do, ignore all of this. You don't need forwarding, you don't need domain privacy, mapping, all of that. Don't manage this, don't inter-account transfer. All you care about is that. Change name servers. By default, those 2 fields will have the name of the registrar that you bought the domain name with. So in this case, if I hadn't have already updated this, it would be 123reg, ns1.123reg.co.uk or whatever it might be. So all I'm doing is overwriting those name servers with the ones that were given to me by my hosting company. So with HostGator, you will have your own, in your welcome email, you will have your own unique name servers. And it might be, ns6407.hostgator.com, ns6408.hostgator.com. It will be in your welcome email, but without getting sort of too tied up, you just know that the first one's going to be name server 1, the second one's going to be name server 2, and you just copy and paste them out your email, pop them in here, and click on update. If you have a smart hosting account, they're all the same. It doesn't matter how many accounts, who's got the account. It's always, name server 1 is always going to be at ns1.cloudhosting.co.uk. Name server 2 is always going to be ns2.cloudhosting.co.uk. And the way that works is that we then, the next part of the process, once we registered the domain and we pointed it to our hosting, is to go and create that area that we're going to build our website in. And it will be unique. It will be unique because every domain name is unique. Therefore, what happens is that when people click or type in your web address, somewhere up there, it knows actually that is a website that's hosted on smart hosting, that's their name servers there. So it just bounces them through, and that just happens in sort of nanoseconds. So it just bounces them forward to that. So that's why, again, it makes it easier because I don't have to sit there and, where's my welcome email from HostGator? Especially because I've had mine for several years. It's buried deep somewhere. So that does make it easy. But all you do is you literally, whoever you're with, whatever those name servers are, you put name server 1 in that field, name server 2 in that field, and click on update. That process can take anything between almost instantly to 48 hours. It's quite common, for example, if you have a domain name with 1&1 or fasthost, for it to take almost the full 48 hours, as opposed to 123reg, UK2net, GoDaddy, generally between sort of 1 and 3 hours. For that,
sorry.
Yeah.
Just so I follow this correctly, if I get smart hosting, I set up my account, I eventually build a WordPress site which they then host it. So that's going to give me a unique link once that site's built.
Yeah, so the question is, if you buy a domain name, buy a smart hosting account, you link or point your domain name to your smart hosting account, will that make it unique? Absolutely, because that's the next step. It's what we call creating an add-on domain.
Right, so there's two, name server 1, name server 2. Which one of those is the smart hosting link?
Both of them.
Both.
You need 2 name servers because the second one is almost like a failover, like a backup. If something happens to their name servers 1, then it will still find your site because of name server 2.
Give me two different links.
They'll still point to your one single folder. Don't worry, that will become clear at the next stage. So that's what we do. We manage our domain name, we update the name server so it points to our hosting. Okay. Then we've got the next piece, which is to create an add-on domain. So I'll show you where that is in HostGator, and then we'll actually do it in smart hosting. Okay. So in HostGator, if I click onto my hosting tab here, I will have down here add-on domains. Now, what is an add-on domain? So the way it works, you have a web address, you have a domain name. In our case, it's wordpresscourse.co.uk. And with that domain name, I then want to build a website. Now that website needs to have a folder that I can put all of those files in, the images, the web pages, all of that good stuff. It's got to sit in a folder that the public can access. And that's why we call it a web host, a web folder, and that's why we need web hosting. They're publicly accessible files, all right? So what we're trying to do here is to create a folder that has exactly the same name as the domain name that I bought, so that when people type that domain in or they click on it, it knows exactly where in the world that folder lives, okay, and exactly matches that domain name. Then it can start to look, oh look, there's the home page, right, I'll display the home page. Now they've clicked on Contact Us. Where's that? It's in that folder. There's the Contact Us page, right, I'll display that, okay. So that's how it works. So we have to create this folder that has the exact same name as our domain name, and that's what an add-on domain is. Because effectively, you've bought some hosting, and you've got unlimited websites to build. So, you'd sign up generally, you have to have one domain name to sign up with, and even if you never use it again, that's what they ask for, just to make sure you have a starting point. Then you create as many domains as you like. You're adding more and more. So your add-on domain is every single website that you want to build. So we create an add-on domain. For ours, it's wordpress.course.co.uk, because that's what the domain name is, right? That we've just pointed to our smart hosting. So all I need to do is type that in and click on Add Domain. Here's another tip. Typing www. is dead. You don't need to do that anymore, ever again, ever, okay? Because it's 4 keystrokes that we don't need in our lives. Every browser understands that it's a World Wide Web, because you're looking for a website in a browser. So you don't need to have or type www. Even if you're in like Chrome and you're in your browser up the top, okay? So I'm going to click on Add Domain. Okay, a DNS entry already exists. That's typical. Oh, of course, because I'm in the wrong hosting, right? I need to be in smart hosting. I was going to show you where it was in HostGator, show you how to do it in smart hosting. Right, so I'm logged into my smart hosting. So that's telling me what I've bought, and that's not bad, is it, per year for as many websites as you like. If one website can't generate £83 a year, then you probably shouldn't be doing anything with it. You should just bin it and do something else that's going to generate money. I sort of, my benchmark really is, can a website earn £1,000 a year? Which isn't a significant amount when you think about it, but it should be able to generate £1,000 a year, otherwise you shouldn't be putting any effort into it. Now, if it can generate £1,000 a year and you can build that on autopilot, imagine if you built 100 of them. Now you're talking. So that's the whole point of having hosting, where you can have as many domains as you like. The more money that website earns, the less number of websites you need to build on top. So if you can get one that generates £10,000, you only need 10 of them, right? To give yourself that £100,000 a year. And then, maybe have an exit plan, sell the business, sell everything, the whole intellectual property, There are people that do that as well. They just, build something up for 6 months, get enough traffic, and then move it on. But that's kind of my benchmark, is that a website, even in its sort of lowest form, whether it's selling an ebook or a video course or something, should generate £1,000 a year on autopilot. That means you're doing nothing with it. You're not adding blogs to it. You're not driving. Just get it very simply up and running and let it run itself. Because then you're putting that into practice to build the next one, to build the next one, to build the next one. It's repeating that knowledge and repeating how you put that together. Suddenly your ideas board looks good, right? Now you've got 10, 12, 15 ideas on your ideas board. If you could get £1,000 out of each of those, happy days. If you could look at some of those and think, well, one or two of those I know could make far more than that, 20, 30, 40 a year, then you're in good stead. So £83.88 a year shouldn't faze you in any way, shape or form. I'll click to go in there. Obviously spent too much time talking. And log into what we call the cPanel, control panel. Now, nearly every web hosting company now gives you a control panel, so it should all look the same, it should all look and feel the same. So don't think that actually HostGator looks slightly different, because they are moving to the control panel anyway. But whether you went with other, 123reg or whatever, they all now give you a control panel, and it always looks like this. Okay, cPanel is a standard front end, just like WordPress is a standard front end for you to build your website. Control panel is a standard front end. So they've all got these functions that sit behind it, which is amazing, right? For what, less than whatever it is, £4 or £5 a month. So being able to sort of look at all your files, being able to create databases if you're that way inclined, free SEO tools. So they might not be as good as things like SEMrush or doing some proper research, but they're not bad for starters. Creating Addon Domains, which we'll do in a moment. Creating your email accounts, info at the team at, and so on. If I go down to SSL, we're going to put we're going to secure our site so it doesn't look dodgy in a browser. So all of that comes as part of your package. So there's plenty, but again, don't be overruled by it, because there's only a couple of things you're ever going to do really in control panel, unless you're an anorak like me. So you don't need to be going in and playing around with databases and so on and so forth. All you'll really do is you'll point your domain name, which we did before, updating your name servers, and you'll come in here and you'll click Addon Domains. You'll install WordPress, and you probably won't touch cPanel again. Other than maybe you've forgotten your email password, so you'll go in and reset that. Pretty much all you're going to do. So don't be overwhelmed by the sheer amount of stuff you can do in here, but be impressed by it, because that's a lot of tools that allow you to further your
So that's the domain name we just bought from 123. You click that and put it in, and and then that gives us a code to go back to 123 to put into that name server.
So first things first, I bought a domain, and because I've got a smart hosting account, I've updated the domain name servers to point to my smart hosting account. Before I go anywhere else, I always do that piece first, and the reason being, that could take anything between 1 and 3 hours. So if I went and did the add-on domain, created my email accounts, then came back and did this, that's a long tea break. So what I want to do is get that in process first. So now I go to my hosting and click Add-on Domains. And now I can add my add-on domain. In Smart Host. Just wait for that to go through. Yep. This could end up being a long tea break after all. Just wait for that add-on domain. So what that's doing in the background, it's creating that unique folder called WordPressCourse.co.uk. Right? That's just a folder like you would find on your laptop and store all your files in there. So if I said to you, right, okay, where do you keep all your business files, you know, your spreadsheets and all that, you say, oh, right, it's in my company name folder on my laptop. This is your company name folder on the web, basically. And that's where you're going to put all of those files. So you're just making sure that it's got the same name as the domain. Otherwise, if I call that WordPressCourses.co.uk, my domain name that's pointing to it will go, well, there's nothing here, nothing for me to see, it's a different name, it has to match. So I bought my domain name, I've pointed it to my hosting. I've created an add-on domain, which is that folder, which is now WordPressCourse.co.uk. Okay. That is my folder ready to receive. So in that folder, I want to build a website. So the final task for me here, should be up here, shouldn't it? Try not to go dizzy while I scroll down. Is to install WordPress. So if you're in HostGator, there's like a quick install button. And I've left that in the slides just in case that's what you've got. It doesn't matter because in here we can install WordPress or Drupal or so on and so forth. So if we click on WordPress, install now. That's WordPressCourse.co.uk. Make sure it doesn't go in that directory or there's nothing in that directory. Otherwise, it will be WordPressCourse.co.uk/WP/contact us or it just makes giving out that domain name a little bit more convoluted. So I'm going to call it Making Money Online. There we go. Got one here. Fast. Admin username, so let's call it Word Admin. Give it something like that. Admin email. Make sure you've got a proper email address in there as well, because it will email these credentials to you. And if you haven't got the right email address in there, if you've just left it at admin@, you'd have to go and create one in order to see that email come in. So I'm literally we can change all of these afterwards as well. So I'm just giving it a tag and a description, just deciding what I want the login to be to get into managing my WordPress website and making sure that it's got a real email to send those credentials to if I forget them, okay? So that's it, that's all I need to do. Click on install. During the break? Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tim offered himself up, didn't he? There we go, look, we've got loads of people in the room. I don't need to come in tomorrow. that's it. That's it, right? So done. WordPress installed. And so all that I need to do is to log into WordPress. So every WordPress login in the world is going to be your domain name / WP-admin, right? Always. So if I click on that, that will take me to my login. Okay, it logs me into automatically because I've just created that login. Coming back, it will ask me to put word admin and so on and so forth in it. Okay, so first things first, before I start to walk through the elements that we've got here, and before we start to build our site out, let's just go and see what it looks like. A blank install of WordPress at the moment will look like that in I guess maybe a month or so's time. It will change slightly because this is using what we call the 2017 theme, and they have one for every year. So it's 14, 15, 16, and so on and so forth. So they haven't yet released the 2018 theme, but as soon as they do, it might look slightly different to that. Irrelevant, because we're going to replace it. But the point is, that's what it looks like to the public. Now, this is live. This is live to the world. So if people went to wordpresscourse.co.uk right now, that's what they would see. They wouldn't be overly impressed, especially if they were looking for information about WordPress or a course to attend, right? However, it is live to the world. Now, why don't I put a coming soon page, or why don't I hide it from the public until I'm ready? Because it can take 3 to 6 months or even longer to rank on Google, depending on how busy your marketplace is, right? So I want Google to start ranking me as soon as possible. And I want it to start picking out keywords. So I would create content right now. Create content right now, start putting it up there, even if it was just one page with some keywords on there, just to get started, to get Google starting to rank me, okay? Now, another question we often get asked is, how do I submit my site to Google? Or you might get, as soon as you buy a domain name, guaranteed, if I bought a domain name today, tomorrow I'd start getting phone calls and emails asking me, pay us a certain amount of money, we'll submit your site to Google. Oh, really? How about you tell me how you can't submit it to Google? Because that's the question. Google knows about every domain name that's been bought. If you create an add-on domain, you've got a website, Google will start to know about you and rank you within 24 hours. But if you don't want to be found, you have to really tell Google not to look for you, and that's adding something we call no follow. So unless you actively tell Google not to find you, you will start to rank from the minute you start to add a piece of content. Even now, right, with just WordPresscourse.co.uk, I've called it making money online. So if people start to type that, all right, I might be on a page 2,674, but I'm there. I exist as far as Google's concerned. And my job now is to just look at that content and how do I get it on the next page and the next page and the next page. So there is a common term that says like an 80-20 rule. Get it 80% ready. Don't worry about the other 20%. I'm 70-30 at best. I will create one page and have no other pages. I'll start to create other pages, but I won't create a menu and allow people to navigate or even know about them until I'm ready for that next page to go up and so on and so forth. But I will start from minute one, day one, because I want Google to start counting me overnight while I'm asleep, right? I don't want to, coming soon, it takes me 6 months to build the most perfect site in the world, and now I want Google to find me. I've lost 6 months of ranking. That's ridiculous. You don't want to do that. Why would you want to do that? So, providing you've got a paragraph that you can put up, you can start to rank immediately, okay? So there is no such thing as submitting your site to Google. There are other things that will enhance your profile in Google, of which we go through anyway over the next couple of days, in terms of connecting your site to Google Analytics and all of that, because you're actually telling Google, not only have I got this website, but this is mine, and I want to know how to increase, what my visitor stats look like, how to increase my SEO and so on and so forth. Using like an SEO plugin, search engine optimization plugin, will allow me to become far more visible to Google. But for right now, I want Google to find me and start looking for me and start to rank me. Even though it's given me 1 point out of a million, it's 1 point more than my competitor has, who's sitting there with a coming soon page. So I rank, or try and rank, from day one. Yes, it's not overly impressive. I've got the standard hello world and all of that good stuff. But importantly, we are starting now to build up our content. So let's go back and have a look at what this back end looks like. So this is where we add all of our posts and pages. This is where we add our images. You know, this is where we dress the site. And then if you then want to look at what the public see, all you've got to do is hover up here. You can click on visit site, or you can just click on the little home icon. Either way, you're going in out to the public view, back into your back end, see what the changes were like, and back into your back end. And that's all you're doing. You're checking to see what they can see at any given time. So let's have a look at some of these, and then we'll drill down in a bit more detail. So we have everything that you can pretty much do in WordPress on that left-hand side. Yes, there will be more menu items as we start to add plugins and so on, but essentially this is it, right? And despite the sheer amount of stuff that's in that menu, you're really only going to do or look at posts, pages, appearance, and plugins. That's really kind of the only 4 areas you'll ever go into. So you can get rid of the rest, use your matrix brain, and just remove from site anything other than those 4, because they're the most important ones. Posts and pages for the obvious reasons, that's your content. Appearance is where you dress it up, add themes and so on. And plugins are your tools, your ways of making your site look and perform better than your competitors, have more tools, tips and toys in your site. So they're kind of the main 4. So we've got posts, adding posts. So it's quite simple. You hover over post and go add new. With pages, the same. You hover over, add new. Appearance, generally, we might find a theme. Once we're happy with a theme, we'll only come back in here to go to customize, maybe widgets. And plugins. So let me cover off the non-important ones before we move on and start to build our site. So users. What users are? They're just people that can log onto your website. So if you got to the point where you had a membership site and you had passive income on your website, you would want them to have a user account, and the plugins generally create those user accounts and determine what they can and can't see anyway. So you don't have to come in here and create a user every time someone becomes a member of your website. But if you've got a business partner, or you've got someone that you want to add as an administrator, you know, you can add a new user, and you just put in sort of the required fields, but importantly decide what they can and can't do. So these are the standard options. Might need to just, I can't scroll down further for the sake of the video, but these are the standard options that you get with a blank WordPress install. Subscriber means they can just read stuff, and then it goes all the way up to administrator with slightly more advanced access levels. So you could, for example, have like a contributor level. They could contribute to a post. An author level, they could write their own posts. An editor could manage the posts, and then, you know, clearly administrator has all access. There are plugins out there that allow you to further customize your own user profiles. But how often do you actually come in here? Hardly at all, if ever. The only tip I would say is I generally create a second administrator account in case I lock myself out for whatever reason. And yes, it does happen. You just create a second administrator account, keep that in your back pocket, so that if you forget the credentials of one, or it could be that, you know, in 5 years' time, the email address I've got associated with my current admin account doesn't exist anymore. I don't use it anymore. So there's no point me resetting the password. At least I've got that second option in my back pocket. Other areas that you'll very rarely come in. So tools. The tool options are like import and export. Some plugins would add one or two more options within there. You can import and export content, but it's only an XML version of those pages or posts. It doesn't import, you know, all of your logos and your videos and all of that good stuff, right? Or your theme. It's not the same as backup and restore, which we will go through. But it is a quick and easy way to import maybe a copy of one site into another, so that you've got the content as a starter for 10. And then from one of your other websites, yeah. So you can. So the question was, can you import information from other websites? Only if you own it, because you have to export from one site and then import into this site. But it's not. I guess it's not complex enough for it to be a usable tool. So we use, tomorrow we'll look at some backup options, and I use one called Duplicator, which takes an entire copy of the site, all the plugins, the themes, the content and everything, and you can just use that time and time and time again, the same thing, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That is far more elegant, comprehensive, than importing just a whole bunch of words, which is all that will import or export to and from your sites. And then in settings, so we'll go through some of these settings. So the general one is, this was the site title I created on the install, and the tagline, what the web address is, and so on and so forth, what the email address is. So if I think actually this is for the site owner, right? So if I want to get notifications, I've got a new member or someone's sent you a question, then I might want to change that to something I create in my hosting, like the team app or support app. What the default role is for a new user. Clearly, I'd want that to be English UK. I would want this to be London. And then what sort of date format is, and the time format, and so on and so forth. Okay, so just one or two things that I might change here in the first instance. And just save those. So that's just sort of general settings. In terms of writing, what your mail server is. Now, you're fine with using the standard. It very rarely requires you to go and put your hosting stuff in here, so I wouldn't worry about that either. In terms of reading, so this is how you want your post to be displayed. Now, we can ignore all of this because our theme will be far more powerful in managing this than the back end of WordPress. But bear in mind where it came from as a piece of software. It's still got some of the original elements to it. All the themes do now is take control of that for you. And look, this is the tick to say, don't follow me, Google. I don't really want you to find me. This is a secret society, all right? So this is where you would have to tell Google, Yahoo, and all of the others to not find you. And it adds something called no follow to your site. And it basically, the spiders, which are the bots that go and look for every site, see what's on there and so on, the likes of Google have, if it sees no follow, it will just ignore your site and move on to the next one. Okay, so that's why we would never come in and tick that. Another option, discussion. So do you want people to leave comments or not? As a rule of thumb, if you're just starting out, I would try not to allow people to leave comments. Turn it off completely. Take these out. Take these comments. Allow people to post comments and all of that, because you're starting, you're tweaking, you're calibrating, you're changing, you're adding, you're a brand new business. If you just open the front doors of your art gallery shop on a Monday morning and you'd only finish painting at midnight on a Sunday, people are going to walk in and go, and what did you think of the shop then? Well, it stinks of paint. There's a step ladder in the corner which I can see. It's the website equivalent of that. You've got stuff to do still, but you want to start giving value and bringing people in. So I don't allow reviews, I don't allow discussions, I close all of that down for a good 6 months until I feel that the site is robust enough for people to concentrate on what I want to give them, not what I might have missed and what I'm still building, okay? So I generally take those settings off and don't allow them to add any of the comments and so on and so forth. Now, again, you can decide basically here, how your images appear or re-render. But again, your theme will do that far more powerfully than WordPress, because when we talk about themes, in a short while, we will be talking about responsive, and that means that it looks good on a mobile device or a tablet and so on and so forth. And that theme will control how it needs to deliver those images, not the back end of WordPress, because if you fix it here, the theme will say, well, my hands are tied, right? You've asked me to show someone, you know, a 1024, 1,000 pixels wide and 1,000 pixels long. So your little logo up the top suddenly fills an entire page up, which isn't what you want to do. But the one thing I would suggest you potentially come in and do is to have a look at permalinks. Permalinks is short for permanent links, and it's your structure of you know, where people are sort of navigating around. And again, part of this comes from the legacy of it being a piece of blogging software, right? So here, for example, it's trying to, or it thinks it's trying to help your visitors understand that, yes, that's the latest article. It's only been published for 2 weeks. Brilliant, that's what I want. But what happens in a year's time when the content is still relevant, but it looks like 2017, and they'll go, actually, I won't bother with that one. It's probably out of date. So just rather than sort of go through each option, I always go for that, right? It's going to be your web address / the name of your page or your post. So WordPress course.co.uk / contact us / our courses / our video, whatever it might be. Nice, easy to remember, looks good in the browser, and isn't convoluted with the, you know, the fact that it's got a date and a time and all of that. So I may come in and set that and save changes. Hopefully I've reconnected to the internet. We're in, and we'll take a break.